Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's sex life, and Full Metal Alchemist. Up next, Sir David Clary of Magdalen College, Oxford, will explain the chemical balance of those three elements. Hi, I'm Faith Salie. Welcome to Science Goes to the Movies, a look at the stories of science and how they change our culture. Our guest today, Sir David Clary, was knighted in 2016 for his work in quantum chemistry. He's also been president of Magdalen College, Oxford since 2005. Hello, David.
Hi.
You are officially the first knight we've had on this show.
Oh, that's great.
So thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. David, you work with quantum dynamics as a method of studying energy transfer in chemical reactions involving polyatomic molecules.
Right.
Is that right? Okay.
That's right.
So, this quantum leap polywannacracker molecule energy transfer stuff, could you please explain that to me?
Yeah.
And I guess by that I mean, what would a typical day in your lab be like?
Yeah. Well, let me just say that, I work on chemical reactions, and that's when the two molecules collide and form another molecule. And that happens everywhere. If you look in the engine, combustion engine in a car, you get chemical reactions going on when the fuel burns. You're the same in a coal fire. Chemical reactions are going on in the atmosphere. Chemical reactions are going on even in outer space, possibly to produce the molecules of life.
Are chemical reactions happening now as we sit here and speak between you and me?
Not exactly between you and me. You have to give things a little bit of energy to make them happen, like you do in an engine.
We'll jazz
but they're
it
happening
up.
all the time in your body. There's all sorts of chemical reactions occurring. If you eat, you're converting what you eat into other things, and so they're happening all the time. So what we do is calculate the rates of these chemical reactions, how fast they go. We don't actually do experiments in the lab. We have to do mathematics and computing to calculate the rates of these chemical reactions. And we use this method of quantum mechanics, which is the way of treating atoms and molecules to calculate their properties really accurately nowadays.
So in your lab at Oxford, you're there at a computer instead of beakers and microscopes?
Exactly. So my students, they write computer programs to solve the equations of quantum mechanics and then calculate quantities like rates of reaction or the products of a chemical reaction, what types of molecules are formed when they collide. And they can do that on the computer.
And why do we want to know how the rate of chemical reactions?
Well, because it comes up into every single thing. For example, if you want to model what's happening in a combustion engine, if you're mixing, say, methane, which is the gas, and oxygen, you want to know how fast that reaction is going to go. You want to know how much energy is given off, so that you can use that energy in another context.
Because how fast the reaction takes place has to do with the amount of energy it gives off.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here on Science Goes to the Movies, we love to talk movies, of course, but as a fellow Magdalen alum, we're going to talk just a little bit about Oxford University first. David, massive amounts of scientific inquiry, of course, have taken place at Oxford, but I want to focus on one particular physicist who, in 1933, was standing in the office that you now occupy as president of Magdalen College when he found out that he won the Nobel Prize.
That's right.
Well, I assume you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, his name's Erwin Schrodinger.
Yes.
He's probably after Einstein, the most important scientist of the 20th century who's having an impact on the 21st century. And he was a fellow in our college, Magdalen College, in the 1930s.
Why was he in what is now your office when he got that phone call?
Because he was in Germany and he didn't like the politics that was going on with the Nazis, so he decided to come to Oxford. He came to my office and was made
You weren't there though, right?
I'm a little bit younger than that. This was 33, so it's a long time ago, yeah. When he came to the office, he was admitted as a fellow, and then the phone rang and said he'd won the Nobel Prize. So that was great for us, and so we claim him as one of our Nobel Prize winners.
And as you say, he's had an impact on the 21st century.
Well, what Schrodinger did, his great work for which he won the Nobel Prize, he came up with what's known as the Schrodinger Equation. And it's a mathematical equation that describes all the properties of atoms and molecules. And when you look around you, everything's made of atoms and molecules. So he developed an incredibly powerful theory. And if you can solve his equations, you can predict all the properties of atoms and molecules. So that was a very important fundamental thing to do. He suddenly came up with this equation, and it had been known really from the work of Niels Bohr and others that if you take a hydrogen atom, it has different energy levels, not a continuous range of energies, but at different energy levels. And if you jump between those levels, it gives off light, and you can observe the light of the hydrogen atom. And so he wrote down his equation, which included energy. It included potential energy and kinetic energy. And his equation then gave exactly the formulae for these energy levels and calculated the energy levels. So that's what came out of his first ever Schrodinger equation.
And you say that the Schrodinger equation, although it was originally for hydrogen,
Yeah.
it can be applied to everything?
Well, Schrodinger published it for hydrogen, and then suddenly, this was in 1926, you know, it's nearly 90 years ago. But then suddenly everybody realized it worked for all atoms and all molecules. So it's almost a theory of everything.
Yes.
There's nothing closer to a theory of everything in the modern world than Schrödinger's equation.
I want to touch more on this equation.
Yeah.
But I think when most people hear of Schrodinger, and he's huge in our current pop culture, and it's all because of that box,
Yeah.
right? Schrodinger's box. On The Big Bang Theory, Schrodinger's cat was a stand-in for all the possible unknowns of Leonard and Penny's relationship. And throughout literature, never mind the memes, Irwin Schroedinger has given all kinds of fictional cats the power to exist in two states at the same time. What are the scientific ideas behind Schrodinger's cat?
Yeah, when Schrödinger was at Magdalen in 1935, and he wrote this paper that mentioned Schrödinger's cat, and he's kind of more famous for that nowadays than his brilliant equation.
Right.
And in this paper, he said it was what he called a ridiculous thought experiment.
Oh, he called it ridiculous.
He did in the paper.
Okay.
And the idea is that you have a box, and you have a poison in the box, and you have a radioactive substance, and you put the cat in the box and put the top on the box. And maybe the radioactive substance will cause the poison to be released, and maybe it will kill the cat. But you don't know if the cat is dead until you take the top off the box. So Schrödinger said, using the language of quantum mechanics, that means that the cat can be alive and dead at the same time before you take the top off the box. And that gave this idea of Schrödinger's cat. And it's been used in, as you say, in the Big Bang Theory, the idea there you get two people kind of interacting, but nobody's quite taken the top off the box. And when they meet each other, they suddenly click and realize that it happens. So it's kind of now used for an uncertainty before something you really look at and it becomes clear. And that's a Schrödinger cat situation that's really come even in the movies.
Do you think it's a ridiculous thought exercise?
Well, when you've got atoms, this does really happen, or electrons. Electrons can exist in two different states at the same time.
Until you measure them?
Until you do the measurement. And that is one of the fundamental principles of quantum mechanics. So really what Schrödinger was doing is taking that little idea on electrons and applying it to a cat. Isn't that an extraordinary thing to do? And it's caught the imagination of people.
I know. I think it's because he used something cute and fuzzy, right?
Exactly. If he hadn't used the word cat, nobody would have picked it up.
Schrodinger's box is a nifty, if ridiculous, thought experiment.
Yeah.
But his equation it is the basis of a hugely important field of study.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, as a scientist, does it ever drive you a little crazy that, you know, the cat and the box get all the fame and kind of, at least culturally, the real work gets pushed to the side?
Well, I think the good thing about the cat in the box, it gets people interested in science and maybe interested in Schrödinger. The trouble with his equation is the maths is difficult.
Even for you?
Well, maybe not for me,
Right,
but
well, you're a knight.
Yeah, well, sort of. Yeah, you have to use calculus. You have to be good at writing computer programs. And you have lots and lots of electrons, and they're all interacting with each other. And you've got to describe that interaction. And that's what's made it difficult to solve until really more recent years, when people have come up with clever ways of doing that.
A lot of times we think of major scientists as dusty relics of a past, more conservative world, but scientists are flesh and blood people full of passions. Erwin Schrodinger died in 1961, and I think enough time has passed for us to dish a little about his love life. In 2012, Popular Science made a list of the top 5 greatest sex scandals in physics, and Schrodinger made the list. It seems that Irwin lived in a menage a trois, a threesome in today's talk, with his wife Annie Bertel and another gal named Mrs. Hilda March. All right, now gossip is gossip, but I think the question is real. Do you think it's important that the rest of the world sees scientists as the flesh and blood human people they are?
Well, that's right. I mean, Schrödinger had a complicated personal life, and to put it simply, he had lots of girlfriends. You've probably seen from these pictures, he was quite
dashing.
Looks like that way. So, but why? You know, scientists are just people like anybody else. And so why can't they have interesting lives as well? And you do find quite often with famous scientists that their personal life can sometimes be as interesting as their scientific life. And that was certainly true with Erwin Schrodinger.
Well, you know, I want to ask you, because we talk about movies here, and we have these biopics. We're used to seeing biopics of artists and musicians, right?
Yeah.
Then you get The Imitation Game, or The Man Who Knew Infinity, or The Theory of Everything.
Yeah.
When we see a biopic about an artist or musician, it seems normal to assume that his or her, usually his, life was affected, his work is affected by his life, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to scientists, do you think that the actual science that they do is affected and influenced by their personal lives?
The sort of scientists you mentioned in those movies, like Alan Turing, Stephen Hawking, are incredibly creative people. And often the very creative people also have kind of interesting personal lives that go with that creativity. So there might be kind of a link that goes together there with it. Yeah.
Do you think any of Schrodinger's passions had any kind of manifestation in his equations, in the work he did?
Yeah, well, I'll give you an example. When he wrote his equation, he went to a ski resort in Switzerland in 1926 with an unknown lady. It's not known who she was. And she was the person who inspired his great equation that's almost changed the scientific world and has been a fundamental in quantum mechanics. So there's an interesting link there.
That was a nice holiday for them.
Yeah.
And for the world.
And people still don't know who. They know he was with someone, they don't know who it was.
Now, you have actually studied his writing, correct?
I have.
It's at Magdalen?
I have. I've managed to get into his archives, and I've met his daughter, who was born in Oxford. She was the daughter of the wife of his postdoctoral researcher, but he was the father. Her name is Ruth, and she lives in Austria, where his grave and his office is, and I've visited her there. So I've really studied the archives and the Schrödinger story.
And in his writing, does he write at all? Is it a journal? Does he write about his personal life?
He didn't write about his personal life, but his great work are his scientific math papers. In later life, he did write some things more on philosophy, and he wrote a very important paper called What is Life, that said you could explain biology with the ideas of chemistry and physics. And that was in the 40s, and that had a big effect on people like Watson and Crick, who went on to study molecular biology and DNA using the ideas of physics and chemistry. So he was influential there too.
And this picture kind of suggests that he knew what is life. It looks like he had a good time. He's got his ladies and his pipe.
He has. This is when he was a little bit older then, I think. This is probably when he was living back in Austria after the Second World War.
But he's still very dashing. I mean, he's not Richard Feynman level hottie, but
No.
I don't know if you'll agree with me. I feel like all the hottest scientists are kind of on the quantum level.
Yeah, I think they're all. I mean, yeah, he's not quite like Feynman. But he had a different sort of style as well that obviously was attractive back in the 1920s and 30s.
All right, now let's change gears and talk about the movie.
Yeah.
David's work is in chemistry, and we wanted to find a super popular movie in that subject. So, of course, today we're going to talk about the worldwide franchise phenomenon that is Full Metal Alchemist. For those of you who don't know or don't have a kid in your house, Full Metal Alchemist is a Japanese shonen series written and illustrated by Hiromu Arakawa, one of the most successful female artists in the field. And boy, has this story been successful. Full Metal Alchemist takes place in the fictional country of Amestris, where alchemy is a practical science that allows the practitioner to create anything they desire, provided they supply the magic with something of equal value in return.
Right. Now the constructional formula. And finally, we need some soul data. Okay, this is it, Hal.
Ned, something doesn't feel right.
It can't be. A rebound?
So, David, Full Metal Alchemist is an otherworld, magical fantasy, but some of what the writers tied to the magic is actual real chemistry. Is that right?
That's right. They bring some sort of fundamental chemistry principles and bring it in an interesting way into the movie.
For instance, the fictional concept of transmutation. In the show, the magical alchemists must learn to make their magic by understanding the atomic structure and kinetic energy of a given material, deconstructing it to a more malleable form, and then reforming it into something new. Is that fiction, or is there basic chemistry there?
No, I did see the Brotherhood, which is one of these films, and in that, one of the characters, I think it was Ed, said that you can actually weigh all the atoms in the body. There's a certain number of grams of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and silicon. And so you could take all the atoms out of the body, and maybe, would it then be possible to put them all back again? And in principle, funnily enough, maybe you could do that, because if you could find ways of linking all the atoms back together again and use modern methods of nanotechnology and so on, maybe that's one day that's something. So it's not a totally crazy idea, and something that was kind of brought up in the interesting movie.
Has any scientific inquiry ever sort of thrown that out there as a ridiculous thought experiment before this movie?
Well, you look at 3D printing nowadays. That's really adding atoms, molding them into new structures. So that kind of links to that idea that came up in the movie The Brotherhood, Full Metal Alchemist.
It also kind of reminds me of Star Trek, where people can sort of seemingly disintegrate and then the atoms get put back together.
Absolutely, that was the great pioneer in all this sort of thing. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
In principle, of course, in practice it's very hard, but in principle, that's the sort of thing that people are thinking about, getting a lot of atoms and putting them together to make different things.
The most oft-repeated line in Full Metal Alchemist comes from Alphonse Elric, who says, "Humankind cannot gain anything without first giving something in return. To obtain something of equal value, something must be lost." That is alchemy's first law of equivalent exchange. In those days, we really believed that to be the world's one and only truth. Is that concept of equivalent exchange a more poetic version of the real-life law of conservation of mass?
Absolutely.
It is.
It's a simple rule. I work on chemical reactions, and there you get molecules collide and produce two new molecules. But the mass initially and finally doesn't change. It's conserved. So that's a really important principle, and you can kind of apply that in different contexts. What you put in, you get out.
Is the law of conservation of mass, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that just another iteration of the first law of thermodynamics?
Not
That matter isn't created?
no, it's related to that. It's just that energy is conserved. In normal circumstances, energy is conserved. However, if you have a nuclear reactor or incredibly high energies, you can convert matter to light. And then it's different. So then mass is not conserved. Energy is conserved because the energy of the mass is the same as the energy of the light, but mass is not conserved. So when one gets very energetic situations, like you get in, say, a nuclear reactor or in the middle of a star, some of these rules have to change and you have to think of them in a different way.
But there are places, there are labs, there are places in this world where matter gets so much energy that it's converted into light?
This happens in nuclear reactors, for example, or even in a nuclear bomb, for example. In a nuclear bomb, I'm afraid, you might get some uranium and you convert it into electromagnetic radiation. Right. So this is something that can happen. This was predicted by Schrödinger's great friend Albert Einstein, and his equations explain it.
I've heard of that guy too.
Yeah.
The characters in Full Metal Alchemist are pursuing a philosopher's stone that will allow them to bypass their laws to create gold and human life. And in real life, David, we actually had alchemists and a philosopher's stone.
Yeah.
What were alchemists?
Well, alchemists were just people that were trying to make gold out of other materials. It was kind of doing chemistry, mixing different things and seeing if they could make gold. That's what an alchemist was.
And now, today, there are scientists who are technically alchemists? Because
well, those who do very high energy physics, you could say they are alchemists. When in a nuclear reactor, you can get lots of different reactions going on you don't normally get under lower energy conditions, and they can produce gold within the nuclear reactor from other elements.
On Full Metal Alchemist, the only things that alchemists are forbidden from creating are gold and human beings.
Yeah.
Human beings I get. Why is gold so hard to create?
Well, that's why it's called alchemy, being able to create gold from some other material. And people throughout history have tried to do that.
Yeah.
Even the great British scientist Isaac Newton spent quite a lot of his life trying to do alchemy without succeeding. But yet again, when you get very high energies, like you get in a nuclear reactor, you can actually do it.
Wait, you can?
If you take mercury and fire the neutrons from a nuclear reactor at mercury, you can produce gold atoms. So in those very energetic circumstances, you can do alchemy, believe it or not.
What happens to the gold atoms that you produce?
It changes. Well, they're all made in a nuclear reactor.
Do they last? They're there? You can get
yes,
them?
yeah, sure. Yeah, when you get very energetic circumstances, a lot of the rules of science that we've all been familiar have to be changed, and that's one of them.
Is that more expensive than gold?
Incredibly expensive, ridiculously expensive. You don't want to do it. You're not going to make a fortune out of doing it that way.
There's gold in them. There are nuclear reactors.
Yeah.
There were actual, as you were saying, Isaac Newton. That's news to me. Was it trying to be an alchemist?
Yeah.
And a philosopher's stone. What was the philosopher's stone?
Well, that's just something that comes right out of history and is used in many of the movies. And the idea there, you could use the philosopher's stone, you could use it to do alchemy. But it's just something that's come out. That's not anything that has fundamental aspects in science in the same way.
Do you know that Harry Potter, when it came out in England, before it came out in America, it was actually released as Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone?
Yeah.
And here it was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, I think, because
that's correct.
Scholastic thought that Americans were too dumb to know what a philosopher was. So kudos to you and your brilliant countrymen.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Schrodinger and Einstein were friends.
Yeah.
What was that friendship like?
They used to write to each other all the time. And in fact, Einstein wrote some letters to Schrodinger that inspired the Schrodinger's cat. If you read Schrodinger's paper, he refers to some of Einstein's work. And there are many, many letters between the two because they were two of the greatest scientists. They even worked side by side in Berlin in the late 1920s before things fell apart there. Yeah.
And so were they, it sounds like they were congenial. Was there a healthy rivalry too, or?
It was healthy rivalry. I think Einstein was so clever that people looked up to him. And it's clear from the letters that Schrodinger looked up to Einstein and very much thought he was the number one.
We have an Einstein TV series that's been on. I think it's called Genius.
Right.
Is it high time for something about Schrodinger?
I think it would be a great program. His great work, his interesting personal life, his influence on modern science. You would not get semiconductors, which are fundamental electronic devices that you get in mobile phones and computers, without Schrodinger's quantum mechanics. So it's been hugely influential. And then biology. He kind of predicted modern molecular biology and helping to understand DNA and biological molecules. He had a huge influence on modern science. So you could bring all that together into a great movie, a great story.
Sir David, thank you. Tragically, this is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a great pleasure to talk to you, Faith.
For all of you watching, be sure to check out our Science Goes to the Movies Facebook page for web-only clips and keep up with everything related to Science Goes to the Movies all in one place. And if you want to watch past episodes or download our new podcast, check us out at cuny.tv.